Good day and welcome to Matters of the Soul. It's lovely to spend time with you and welcome to our program today. I have the privilege of spending time with Rhodene Leydekkers. She's a dietitian, registered dietitian in South Africa, and she's going to spend time with me today, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation on women and eating and food and dieting and eating disorder. So I really am looking forward to this discussion, and I hope you do find this meaningful, and may it be a blessing to you. So, Rhodene, welcome very much to the program on Matters of the Soul.
Thank
It's
you so
lovely.
much.
It's lovely to have you here with us. Um,
Yes.
Such a privilege, and I'm so glad you've set aside time to spend with us. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, Rhodene, a dietitian. Yes, tell us a bit more about what you do.
Yes. So, yeah, like you said, my name is Rhodene. I'm a registered dietitian. I've got a practice in Waterfall in Midrand at the moment. But I also see clients online. And I've got such a passion for well, nutrition in general. I'm a big foodie. I love
Mm.
food and enjoying food and experimenting with different flavors. But then also for women's health specifically. I've got a massive passion for women and mental health as well, because eating is so much more than just feeding your body and looking a certain way. It's about
Mm.
a, a holistic approach, and that's what
Yeah.
I like to do as well. So,
Yes, yes, amen. And that's what we'll be expanding on today, is that holistic approach. Yes, wonderful. And you're also a believer, um,
yes.
Christ.
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. So as you know, Matters of the Soul are we focus on Christian psychology and on mental health and faith and how we mix it. So it's wonderful for us to also bring in believing professionals, and that's a one. It's a privilege. Rhodene, we go. Let me kick off with our discussion of today, and it's you know I've discussed this with you in the past. But women have, in my opinion, I've seen, and it's in my world and it's all around me, that a lot of women have struggles with their body image, with how they see themselves, how they see their bodies, with weight and food. Just in general, what is your perspective as a dietitian on this struggle that women tend to have? Do you agree with me?
Mm,
If and I,
definitely. Yes,
mm,
no, definitely. I think in the world that we're living in currently, where diet culture is such a big topic and we are exposed to it everywhere, I think everybody struggles with it one way or another. But yeah, I think women are especially vulnerable, and I
mm,
think it's a place where the enemy can really come in and really destroy. So yeah,
yeah,
I mean, in my practice as well, I do see a lot of women, and they want to come in and they want a quick fix. They want to
mm,
really put their body through so much
yeah,
trauma. I feel like going on
mm,
these restrictive diets, it's traumatic for the body.
mm,
And it's as though they just don't care. They just want a quick fix. They want to look like the perfect body. And yeah, through that, they lose a big part of themselves. They lose their identity, their purpose in life. So
yeah,
yeah, I definitely agree. It's a big problem, especially for women. And it's
yeah.
heartbreaking to see.
Yeah, and we know that this extends to men and adolescents and older people. We know that this goes across the board. Our focus with this program is a bit more on women, but the
Mm,
principles are applied, can be applied to all genders and people of all ages. But yes,
mm,
you touched on something that these days there's a media trend to have this perfect body, to push your body through strict dieting and exercising, and people go to great lengths to get their bodies perfect. In the gym where I go to, you hear stories, people inject themselves with all kinds of stuff to just get that perfect body. They go for lots of plastic surgery. Even they had a discussion the other day with teenagers, and they said, oh, if there's a problem with your body, you just get plastic surgery. And they said it as a matter of fact. And it's as if this
yeah.
the perfect body image is pushed by the media. What do you make of that? Do you agree with that, that the media plays a role in this?
Definitely. And I think the danger with social media is it will always be seen through the lens of perfection.
Mm,
Even if you're trying to share and be more vulnerable on social media, I think there's still a little bit that lens of perfection, like, because you don't know what's going on in that person's life.
mm,
And the sad thing as well is the perfect body is constantly changing. If we just look back in
mm.
the past few
Wow.
decades, it's constantly
Yes.
changing.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to put our body in this box where we were never meant to be in. And maybe if you're lucky, your body might fall in this category for a while and you might feel great because you're finding your identity in that. And then a few
Mm,
weeks later, you might see a new picture of an influencer, saying that, okay, this is now the perfect body. And you need to do
yeah.
this to get the perfect body. So it's very dangerous. And I think, unfortunately, we are always exposed to it. I think even in the workplace, just day to day, we are always exposed to it. But yeah,
Yeah.
social media is definitely a danger. And with all the filters that you can use these days, I
Mm,
mean, it's crazy. And with AI,
mm,
editing photos, changing your body, and giving you that false sense of
mm.
of how what true beauty is as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very scary.
It,
It's a
it
very
almost
scary.
it almost becomes an over focus on the external. Not that
Yes.
our external bodies are bad in that essence, or that it's bad to look after yourself. It's actually it's the opposite, but it's a very strong focus that the importance of that becomes extremely high. It seems
Mm-hmm.
like in the circles that I move, where I have discussions with Christian women, they are mature people, they are mature women in Christ. But yet, when you sit with them, their bodies and how they look and whether they've picked up weight or not, it's not acknowledged really that it is such a big thing, but it is. Like once they've picked up weight and they consider themselves now to be overweight, it's as if they suddenly become insecure.
Mm-hmm.
It presses this button that they are not good enough. And I've noticed this for a long time. And then they either go into this over exercise, over strictly diet, only cabbage leaves, not even cabbage, lettuce leaves and
Mm-hmm.
tomatoes, or they go on this banting stuff or whatever, and they go to extremes. A Christian woman, and this is in the church, and they do various things, or they go into denial and say they don't have this, it's nonsense, or some other one or other form of a reaction that has concerned me, is to show me that there is a very strong focus, and that if you give them a compliment, I've noticed that it's not okay, no, it's not, I don't really look this well, I don't know, there's or they really strive for it, and they don't then see, I don't really know whether they realize how strong a role this is playing in their lives, um, with regards to how comfortable they are. I'm not saying that if you've picked up a lot of weight that you should now be happy with it. I'm not saying that you should be happy with it, but there's a sense of I'm not good enough, or some kind of a drive. It becomes a strong focus in their lives, and that
Mm-hmm.
I've just noticed that, and I'm wondering, yeah, even for Christian women, I see this as a dilemma. This is a very strong focus. I'm not saying they shouldn't exercise or any of those things. I think it's all healthy. But I've noticed this trend, and it's concerned me, and I've been wondering about, because it can even lead to some kind of mental struggling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then we find that women tend to go onto all kinds of diets, and I wanted to ask you, with regards to dieting, being a dietitian, you're now the one who knows about diets, but people go on all kinds of diets, and then you hear them going for injections to help them reduce their appetite, and then and Christian women do this, and they get into all kinds of battles, and it causes marital problems because now they're too fat, they don't feel that they're beautiful for their husbands, and they're this and that. In general, is dieting good for a woman's physical and mental health. What, and please expand on that. What happens to the body when you're on a strict diet?
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, it's always good to take care of your body, but we need to look at the purpose of why are you taking care of your body? Are you
Huh?
going on this diet because you hate your body and you're doing it out of a place of self-hatred of who you are and your body and trying to change your body? Or are you doing it because you want to take care of the temple of God and you want to, ensure that your body is in the best shape that you possibly can be? And I
Yes.
think that looks different for everybody.
That's important, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you, yeah, it's silly that we use something like weight or how you look as a measure of health, where health, if you look at the big picture of health,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just physical health, it's mental health, it's social health. So, yeah, to really focus on the purpose of why you're doing something. It's always good to include lots of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and lean proteins and healthy fats. God created our bodies so incredibly complex and amazing, that every cell in the body requires certain nutrients to function. I mean, he could have made us very simple, where we only need to eat apples and we would be
Yes.
fine. But
Yes.
and it's just amazing to see how much he cares for us and how much he loves us, that he created us with so much complexity, and also with food, that he put different nutrients in different foods, and to give us this
Yes.
variety so that we can experience true joy in eating as well.
Yes.
But yeah, if we're looking at what the world has created dieting to be, where it's you have to cut out a certain food, or you have to just eat lettuce leaves because you need to change your body as quick as possible. Firstly, if we look at the physical, what it physically does to the body, I mean, our body wasn't designed to be on a strict diet. And if
Yeah.
you think, like, look back to back in the day, to where they had to hunt for their foods, they had this, you know mindfulness to be like, okay, I'm feeling hungry now. I need to go and hunt food now. And then they would eat everything. They would overeat to
Yes.
help them for the next few days until they have access to food again. So,
Yes.
they didn't have the luxury to just eat when they were hungry. So if
Yes.
we're thinking about what our bodies do when we are on a strict diet, our body thinks that we don't have access to food. Like something is happening, like we need to go out and we need to go hunt food now. So what
Oh.
slowly starts to happen is you start to produce your hunger hormones, which is your ghrelin, your neuropeptide Y.
Uh-huh.
And these hormones make you feel ravenously hungry. And the
Mm.
neuropeptide Y, it's responsible for a lot other functions, but also it makes you binge eat eventually and makes you crave
Oh.
more carby food, fatty foods, high calorie foods, because
Mm.
your body is in survival mode. Your body
Mm.
is like trying to get calories in your body as quick as possible.
Mm.
In that moment, your body is not thinking about, trying to lose weight. Your body is thinking about surviving.
Yo.
And sometimes you can fight against that for a while, but eventually your body is just going to take over. And that's why we always see this yo-yo dieting, where you eating restrictive
Mm.
and like just eating lettuce leaves, to going to the other extreme
Yes.
of overeating, binge eating, feeling like you have
Mm.
no control around food, because it's
Mm.
these hormones playing a role. There's also
Mm.
research that shows that your satisfying hormone, your leptin that makes you feel full,
Mm-hmm.
gets decreased if you are on restrictive diets. So then you don't feel full. So you're just eating and eating and you just don't feel satisfied.
Wow.
And we
So it
as women think, sorry, yeah.
no, so it actually turns the process upside down.
Exactly, yeah. So, and then we as women think like, oh, I have no self-discipline, I have no self-control, what's wrong with me, breaking yourself down. But it's actually
Mm.
just your body, and God creating our body to take care of us, and that process that kind of stepped in. So again,
Yes.
yeah, our bodies are amazing and our bodies are there to take care of us. So we need to take care of our bodies as well. Um,
That
And
is
then also,
such an insightful way to look at it, because the science shows that yo-yo dieting actually messes up your body's natural way of trying to work with hunger and fullness and food. And you were saying?
exactly. Yes, yeah.
Mm,
And then also, I mean, if you're going on very strict diets, the body starts breaking down your muscle mass, and muscle mass is important for metabolism as well. Your muscle mass burns more calories for you.
sure.
So that's why if you notice like being on a diet for a week and you're losing all this weight on the scale, a lot of the time it's just water weight and muscle mass.
Mm,
And that's why it's so easy to pick up the weight again afterwards once going back to eating normally,
mm,
because the body is just like,
mm,
it doesn't have the muscle mass, so your metabolism reduces. So that's also a big thing. And I mean, if you just look at, I mean, after restrictive dieting, and we see it a lot in our eating disorders as well,
mm,
like your period will stop completely because your body
mm.
doesn't feel safe
Yes,
to grow a baby. So I mean, that also just shows you that that
sure.
is not normal, and
Yes.
why being extremely skinny, which is maybe the ideal for some people, it's not safe, and that's not how our bodies were supposed to be. Our
Yeah.
bodies need fat to function optimally as well.
Yes,
um,
talk about fat, because I think fat is almost like the devil. It's like
yes,
people's like, that's evil. Is it
yes.
evil? Because you're saying it, our
No,
bodies need fat to survive. It's a
exactly.
very important statement.
Exactly, yeah, and it helps to keep our body warm. That's why also, people with, especially like struggling with anorexia. I mean, they constantly call. It can be like 35 degrees, and they're shivering because their body doesn't have that isolation.
Yes.
So yeah, we do. So women need about, I think it's about 18 to 28% of body fat.
Ah,
And I think a lot of people think I need to have 0% of fat.
yes.
Yeah, fat is not a swear word. It's not from the devil. It's needed, and it's important for our bodies to be healthy and to function optimally as well.
Rudin, I can make a meme of this. Fat is your friend. I think I think this is very important what you're saying, because it's a radical. You see, for the listener and the viewer, this is why we're talking to Radine, is because we have to hear these things. Because it's as if there's an irrational drive to just lose fat and just get rid of
Mm-hmm.
everything and just look like this body image that we think our body should look like this girl over there or that person. So what you're saying is that your body actually needs those natural things. We need all the
Mm-hmm.
food types, but we also need to not starve ourselves, because otherwise we
Mm-hmm.
start off this whole yo-yo dieting. Our body does not respond naturally to the hunger, fullness experience. The
Mm-hmm.
leptin, all those things don't work as they should. And then we also actually almost misrepresent fat in our own minds, that fat
Mm-hmm.
actually need fat. We need to take in fat. So then we talk about healthy fats and unhealthy fats. I think they do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, so our if we look at your healthy fats, yeah, that is like your nuts, your seeds, your avoes,
Hmm.
olive oil. So yeah, those fats are very important for a lot of functions in the body. It helps with some of your hormone production. It helps with
Hmm.
absorbing your fat soluble vitamins. So we
Hmm.
get fat soluble vitamins and we get water soluble vitamins. Your water
Mm-hmm.
soluble vitamins needs water to transport throughout the body. So that's your B vitamins and vitamin C. And then
Mm-hmm.
your fat soluble vitamins are your vitamins A, D, E, and K, which
Uh-huh.
all of them is also important, but they need fat to get absorbed in the body and to
Huh.
go to where it needs to go. So yeah, again, we should also not be scared of fats, and everybody is also different, so everybody needs a different amount of fats. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, we should definitely not be scared of fats. Yeah, the other day I also heard someone that said, yeah, they were told that they should cut out all avoes and olives and olive and oils and salad
Mm,
dressings, and they can't have anything like that. I'm
mm.
like, no, like your body needs that. So
Oh,
yeah.
there's a place for that. And this is important because it's almost like we go to the extremes of either or,
Hmm.
but it seems like it's both and more. It's something in the
Yes.
middle where we want to say, try to live a balanced way, isn't it? That's what I'm
Hmm.
hearing. And because if we are going to exclude certain things, and going to do that to the detriment of our bodies,
Hmm.
and that is going to affect the health. So in our minds, we
Definitely.
actually have to have permission to say, but this is healthy. It's healthy for me to have some fat, because people would say red meat. I mean, that's an evil as well.
Hmm.
What do you make of that? Because then people would say, but red meat is evil, or
Yeah. So
having that
I like.
ice cream. Yeah.
Yes. So I always like to focus it, and it's a mind shift thing. And I think with a lot of things in life, it is about how you see things and
Mm,
your mind shift around it. Um, so I always like to focus on what can I get from this food.
mm-hmm,
So when we're looking at, and this is especially helpful if you are struggling with your relationship with food, you've got your food fears that you are terrified of, is to just shift your focus and be like, okay, what can I get from this food? So,
mm,
like your red meat, yes, there are research out there that shows that we should be limiting our red meat intake. There are some studies that show that it can have a negative impact on our health. But it's not to say that we should cut it out completely, because we will
mm,
still be getting our B vitamins, iron, which is also
mm,
very important, protein, which is also
mm,
essential for our body, because we get
mm,
our macronutrients, which is our protein, our carbs, and our fats that we require in large amounts. And
mm-hmm.
then if we zoom in a little bit more, we get our micronutrients. So those are like the vitamins and minerals that you can't really see, but they are there, and they are also
Oh,
essential for optimal health. So yeah, like red meat, you will be getting your protein, your B vitamins, iron, zinc,
mm,
which is really important. Something
mm.
like ice cream as well. Yes, it's not
Yes,
something that we want to eat every single day, but you will still, you will firstly be getting some energy out of that. Your body
yes.
will break it down into calories that the body can use for energy. You will be getting a little bit of calcium, a little bit of fats. So it's not
Uh,
that it's also bad for you.
mm,
um well, yeah, I think it depends how you view it, but it's not that you should cut it out completely. It is this
yes,
balance, because
yes. And it's
too
probably the
much of
same with
anything.
your sugars as well, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
again, we all know including too much sugar in your diet, it's not good for us. It can increase inflammation. It can
Mm,
cause your blood sugar to spike, which is not great. But it's including it a little bit is much better for you than cutting it out completely and you craving
uh,
it, and it's like that thing is building up to you get to a point where you just binge eat on it and
injured.
overeat on it.
And I
So
think
it's
there,
about that balance.
yeah, there you give the principle, and it's about the balance. Rather include it. It's better to include it in moderation than to exclude it altogether. And
Definitely.
you touched on something there, but with the food fears, because now we're talking about women and their battle with food and their bodies, and we know that you've touched on two things here. I first want to talk about the food fear. So people have lots of fears regarding food, like we said, fat and sugar and those things, and that this is going that it sounds like the fear is that I am going to be fat and ugly, and then and from a psychologist point of view, it goes to what we call a core belief. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure.
Mm,
And then once you deal with that kind of core belief, you're trying to eat your way to a better core belief to try and fix your body, the outside, but you're actually on the inside. There's a dilemma with, am I really good enough? And
mm,
that links to with the Lord. And do I know how He really sees me? And we'll talk about that a bit later. But it it sounds like women have these food fears, don't they?
yeah.
And then they have a dilemma with their body image, with how they see their bodies. It's as if they want to fit their own bodies into a certain body shape, but we know we have different body shapes, um,
Mm-hmm.
don't we? And so talk about the food fears and the body image, and relating to what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so food fears, and it's different for everyone. It's as though you in your head, and I've seen it. It's so random. Like people have the randomest food fears,
Mm.
where they just place this certain food on a pedestal and give
Mm.
power to this food,
Yeah.
almost like letting this food also determine your identity in a way.
Yes.
And yeah, you need to break that food fear. You need to take that power away from that food,
Mm.
because if you're going to place a food on a pedestal, it's always going to control you. You're never
Yes.
going to experience true freedom, and that is scary. I think that's one of the most difficult things with eating disorders as well, and challenging these, and undisordered eating, and challenging these food fears,
Mm.
because I don't think a lot of people understand it, and it's sometimes for a lot of people might seem very irrational. Having a fear for a snake, I mean, that's makes sense, and
Yes.
a lot of people have that. But having a fear for drinking a milkshake,
Mm.
because you
Yes.
think that is going to like throw away your entire worth, and
Mm.
yeah, it's sad that people have these fears, but yeah, you have to challenge the fears, and it's scary. I think people forget how difficult it is to face your food fears. It's literally like touching a snake if you've got a phobia for a snake,
Yes. Mm.
or jumping out of an airplane if you have a fear for heights. It's the same as
Yes.
that.
Oh,
um,
insightful.
so I think it's important that people realize that, and know like um, it's normal to be very scared to face your food fears, but
Mm.
you will never be truly free if you don't address it.
Mm. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
you've touched on it, and it's so insightful to say that it is really almost a phobic reaction, that it is a phobia
Mm,
kind of reaction. Because I hear this and I see this. The other day we had a Sunday lunch, and this lady said, "Oh, I don't know, if I today this it's I can see the fear in her eyes for all this. I mean, there's plenty of food available, but she doesn't have the
mm,
freedom to now engage with the food and give her body what it needs. It's as if there's no mechanism to say, how do I engage with this food without feeling either guilty or ashamed or ugly or
mm,
afraid
mm,
that I'm going to pick up weight now? Or they joke and they say, oh, well, tomorrow we'll begin. And then they go into either overeating and
mm,
then almost eating the guilt away and saying, well, it's the yo-yo again. But you've touched on
mm,
something with identity. And I know it goes to our identity. Uh, and I want to talk about that. But before I talk about that, I want to just talk about the other side of this now. So we either go into strictly dieting, but some people then go into over healthy eating. They talk about orthorexia, like an obsession now with healthy eating, or it becomes, I now have to eat healthily, and everything is super healthy in a sense. It's almost like they know, okay, so I need nutrients, but now it almost becomes an obsession to eat healthily. We only buy food from
mm.
this shop, and we only eat this kind of organic, this and that. And so it seems like it can go to the other side as well. So you
Yes.
either, well, have you encountered that, and what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think the scary thing with orthorexia, is that it's so normalized in the world
Yes.
that we are living in. There's so many influences, really, without saying that it's orthorexia. I think a lot of them aren't even aware that they are struggling with orthorexia, or
Mm.
these tendencies. But yeah, it's so normalized. It's like you will see a video, and the girl would be like, don't eat this, don't eat this. Like is if there's any processing that went into this product, don't eat it. Only eat things that grow from a plant, and not
Yes.
made in a plant.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think, yeah, even in a lot of our things like gyms as well, I
Mm.
think there's this idea as well of clean eating.
Yes. Clean
um,
eating.
yes, so it's the scary thing with that is it is so normalized. And
Mm.
um, I the other day I did like a little bit of research on the uh, stats on orthorexia, and it was a very broad spectrum. It was like 21 to 57.6%. Like they're not sure exactly how many people are struggling with it, because I think it's very difficult to determine
Mm.
that
Mm.
because it is so normalized, and that a lot of people won't admit or realize that they are
Mm.
struggling with it. And yeah, I think that definitely plays a part in our identity, because with orthorexia, it's very black and white. It's food are either good
Yeah.
or they're bad.
Yes.
And I honestly don't think that you can have a good self-esteem and self-love and self-care if you place food in good and bad categories, because
Uh,
you will never feel good about yourself if you are eating something that you see as bad. I mean, nobody will feel good about themselves if they're doing something that is bad. So
isn't
if
it?
you are eating 1 teaspoon of sugar on your oats, or you're craving a chocolate and you like gave into temptation, you're going to feel bad about yourself, and that's directly going to impact your self-worth. And then if
Absolutely.
you're eating good, you're like, oh, okay, I'm great, I'm perfect, until the
Mm.
next time that you mess up. So yeah, it's a
Mm.
very dangerous, and I think we should be aware of it, and we should be very careful of engaging in these type of behaviors as well.
Yes, because in we know that there are foods out there that aren't really clean. So they aren't
Mm,
probably manufactured to we know some of the canned foods and some of those things aren't the best options available. So we're not saying no, there aren't GMO types of foods or the genetically modified stuff, or they aren't this, or all foods out there are just good. What we're saying is that people can become so focused on this that it becomes an obsession, and that it becomes this
mm,
all or nothing thinking. And we know,
yes.
from psychology that really creates distress. It creates frustration, anxiety, because and
Mm,
like you said, if you're going to eat something that you see as bad, then that's going to cause a lot of anxiety for you. Whereas we want to more move towards a more of an approach that where we where we manage what we're eating, and we allow a more of a balanced approach again. So
mhm,
it's interesting that even the clean eating can become a habit, because it can become an identity. Like people would say, I am vegan.
mhm,
I am a vegetarian. I am. It's as
mm,
if it becomes a that kind of sense of identity related to food, and it's almost like
mm,
that the way they approach their lives now, this is who they are. So
mm,
it's and that distracts a bit from our real identity in Christ, doesn't it? Um,
yeah,
because it's not. I'm not saying you shouldn't say I'm vegan, but but you eat in a vegan manner.
mm,
Really, what it is.
yes,
It's not that
yeah,
you are vegan. It's not that
yeah,
that's an identity. That's the people would say, but that's who I am. No, that's what you do.
mm,
That's what you
yeah,
prefer, because it actually confuses identity. And
mm,
in our church, we always say identity precedes activity. So it's interesting that if you know who you are in Christ, it's easier to walk as a Christian. But if you think
mm,
that you are a vegan, then it will become, if you don't eat like a vegan, then it will become that I am a problem with I am, with who I am.
mm,
So
sure,
one would rather want to fix your identity in Christ, and then
mm,
the way you live from there outwards
mm,
towards food, to say, but this is who I am, and how do I? You mentioned it in the beginning. My body is now a temple of the Holy Spirit.
mm,
It's the house of God. So I want to look after what He's given me, because I'm in His service whilst I'm here on earth, and I want to enjoy life
mhm,
as well and be
mhm,
healthy, but I want to do that to honor Him. So it's a bit different
yes,
from an identity in food, that I'm a vegan now. So that's why if you disagree with me, and then people start to tease each other, and with who's vegan, and I've also made some jokes, but but
mm,
it's important to move the shift away. But
mm,
we said orthorexia is there, but then you also have eating disorders. People really struggle, and I recently did a video on that. But from a dietitian's point of view, just talk a bit about eating disorders, and how you view it from a dietitian's perspective. Um,
mm.
what do you
Yeah.
see it? How do you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so although eating disorders are a mental health condition,
Mm,
we as dietitians or should definitely play a big part in that as well.
mm,
If we're looking, especially at like anorexia, where for so long the body was deprived from certain nutrients,
mm,
um, then or like electrolyte imbalances with
mm,
bulimia, all of that. So that's where we can come in. Firstly, is just to really rehab the body and ensure that we are giving the body the right amount of food, the right amount of nutrients, um,
mm,
and yeah, just ensuring that we're really fixing the body from a nutrition point of view, where the body was deprived from all these nutrients for so long.
mm,
Also, I mean, if you got to the point where your body's literally like almost finished completely, and you weren't eating for months, you can't just give that person a burger and chips and be like, eat as much and shakes and all of
mm.
that. Like you need to
Oh,
slowly get the body used to eating again, and
mm,
giving the body slowly nutrients again, and then building up. And then yeah, ensuring that the body is getting everything that it needs. But I think we also definitely play a big part in building a healthy relationship with food, and
mm-hmm,
helping the people. So um, like we spoke about the food fears, you can't just for the patient to really be successful and to really recover, you need to meet them where they are at now and
mm,
really help them and guide them. Otherwise, you're just going to scare them off, and they are just going to go their own way and run away. So you need to
mm,
meet them where they are at now and use the foods that they feel safe with, build it
mm,
from there, and then start to like really challenge them as well. So I think we as dietitians can really play a big part in that as well, to ensure that they are getting everything that they need from their safe foods, and then
mm,
adding the scary foods slowly as they feel comfortable.
mm,
Obviously challenging them as well,
mm,
not to just stay on one level, but
mm,
yeah, to really help them with that, to help with balancing their blood sugar. So with like
mm-hmm,
binge eating disorder, although there's yeah psychological reasons for that, it's also
mm.
going to be very difficult to focus on the mental point of view if the physical is not in
Ah,
place. And that's what I always say with like emotional eating as well. It's going to be very difficult to deal with emotional eating if you
mm-hmm,
haven't dealt with the physical. Because again, if your blood sugar is very low because you haven't eaten the whole day, those
yes.
hormones start to produce again and your body goes into survival mode. And our main source of energy comes from our carbohydrates.
Mm,
Carbohydrates gets broken down into glucose, and the glucose gets absorbed by the cells to be used for energy.
mm,
So if you haven't eaten the whole day, the body goes into survival mode. The body is trying to help you, and then you produce these hormones to make you crave more sugary foods and carby foods and fatty foods, because the body just wants calories as quick as possible. So if you're going to go the whole day, you are going to binge eat by the end of the day. But if
ah,
we balance your blood sugar, and ensure that you are eating balanced meals, not just carbs.
mm,
I've also seen it so many times, like someone will have a muffin and a coffee for breakfast, and
mm.
then just like snack on chips and chocolates, and by the end of the day they feel like they have no control around food. So we need to balance the meals, balance blood sugar. So that's also an important part. But yeah, like I said, I think we can definitely play a big part in helping and healing a relationship with food as well, which is a big problem
Mm.
with eating disorders as well.
So eating disorders are almost at the end of the spectrum of the dilemma with food. So people find themselves on the spectrum, and that's where they're getting trapped with lots of things, and then their bodies are also triggering a lot of the responses that they do that they give.
Mm,
But you've mentioned something in general here that we tend to neglect our need for healthy food and for food throughout the day. And then we get to a place where our body is in survival mode and all the hormones are there telling us, listen, you've got to eat. And then we overeat in a sense. And
yes.
that just brings a question to mind on intermittent fasting. What do you
Mm-hmm.
what's your view on this? Because I know it's quite big out there now.
Yes.
Everybody's fasting 15, 16 hours. After dinner, they stop eating and they only eat at 11 or so in the morning. And some people say they've
Mhm.
got good results with it. But then you find, when you look at the details, you'll still find this pattern that you just described. But what is your view on this? Is it good, any good, or what does it, does it really help? Uh,
Yeah. So my personal view is, I mean, it can be a helpful tool.
mm-hmm,
What I do like about intermittent fasting is it doesn't necessarily cut out certain foods completely. So it's still you're eating balanced in your eating window. It's not that you're cutting out carbs or cutting out certain vegetables or meat or whatever. So you're
mm,
still eating a balanced, you still have a balanced approach in your eating window. But then it depends from person to person. So I've had clients that said like intermittent fasting works for them. It works with their schedule. They are very busy in the morning with the kids and they
mm,
don't have time to eat. So having um, this way of eating, intermittent fasting, it works for them. They feel like they're flourishing on it. But it's nothing that I wouldn't just recommend it to anyone because it won't work for everyone. The
okay.
reason why it also works and why I would say it's a helpful tool is because it does help you if you are wanting to lose weight, be healthier. It does
Mm,
help you to manage your intake a little bit more for some people
mm-hmm,
because you're cutting out a meal.
yeah.
And if you look at what all these different diets have in common, your
Mm-hmm,
keto, your banting, your cabbage soup diet, the intermittent fasting, all of them, they cut calories one way or another. Even like your normal restrictive, low calorie deficit diet, they cut
mm,
calories one way or another. So intermittent fasting, it is a way where you can do that. But for other people, it won't work. And I've had people that said that, yeah, it was recommended to them that they had to do intermittent fasting and they felt terrible on it.
oh,
Because some people, although some people might flourish on it, other people might start to experience, because also when our body is starving, we start to produce our stress hormones, our
mm,
adrenaline and our cortisol. And that is
that's
because,
important.
yeah. And if you think about, again, going back to the caveman times, they
Mm,
had to go hunt for their food. So for that, they
mm,
needed the adrenaline. So that's why we
yes.
have that adrenaline. It's to make us more like aware of, okay, focus, vision, let's get something in
Mm,
our body. And
yes.
some people might experience that. Then some people might be on a high adrenaline high, they feel good. But other people might experience the opposite, where they feel hangry, emotional, overwhelmed.
Yes.
So yeah, and I'm personally like that. So I would never be able to
Mm,
do intermittent fasting because
yeah.
I can really feel, I just feel very overwhelmed if I don't eat.
Mm,
So yeah, so that's one thing. And then also some people might overeat then in their eating window. Some people are able to
uh-huh.
manage their intake, but other
That's
people
it.
might overeat and crave the chocolates. The moment that they break their fast, they would do it with the
Yes.
chocolates. It will spike their blood sugar, and for the rest of the
Mm,
day, their body will crave the sugar. So yeah, it's really depends from person to person. But I wouldn't tell anyone that you need to do intermittent fasting. Yes, fasting is good for a few
uh-huh.
hours, but we do fast overnight for at least most of us for at least 10 to 12 hours. So,
Mm.
yeah, it just
It is,
depends.
okay, wonderful. There, that's quite insight. That's quite informative as well. So you need to listen to your body, and then the
Mm-hmm.
hunger fullness plans. These where you eat when you're hungry and you stop when you feel you've got enough.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that? Because then I know they also distinguish between hunger and thirst, knowing when
Mm-hmm.
you're hungry, so that you eat when you're hungry and not when you're thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they tend to listen to their bodies. What do
Mm-hmm.
you see as the pros and cons there?
Yeah, so I think that concept can be very easily misunderstood
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit abused. Because I've had many people that tell me like, yeah, they listen to their hunger and fullness, and then they won't eat the whole day because they're not hungry.
Ah,
But we need to really understand our body in order to listen to our body, because there's a difference between our physical hunger and our appetite.
mm,
So physical hunger is the body's need to eat. Our body
uh-huh.
requires energy, and our body was designed to tell us when we are in need of energy. So it's that hunger hormones that gets produced when our body is in need of energy. So it's like our petrol light that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will start to feel like that emptiness in your stomach. You might start to feel a
Yes.
little bit tired, a little bit of that mood shift.
Yeah.
So a very physical sensation. You might even start to experience like headaches, tiredness, dizziness, all
Mm.
of that. So that's the body's way of saying like, please just give me some energy.
Sure.
Where appetite, it's more the desire to eat or not to eat.
Mm.
And it's influenced by external factors, our emotions, our mood, medication, appetite suppressants, appetite stimulants, our environment. If we're super busy and we're like focusing on a
Mm.
task, we might not necessarily think about food. So it's more like appetite is more here, where physical hunger is
Mm.
more the body.
Wow.
So we need to understand the difference between the two. And I think people, it's easier to listen to your appetite, because sometimes you might not have an
Mm.
appetite because your body is now experiencing some kind of emotion like stress in a stressful job, but your body is in need of energy. But it's
Sure.
very easy then to be like, oh, I'm not hungry because I don't feel hungry. And
Yes.
then it's this vicious cycle where the body goes into survival mode, producing more of your stress hormones, lowering the
Mm.
appetite even more. Or then on the other hand, you might have an appetite. You might be craving all this food because it's emotional hunger that you're trying to feed, but physically you are feeling full.
Mm.
So I love the idea of listening to your body, because that's what God designed us to do.
Mm.
I feel like, and we've got all these hormones as evidence to tell us, okay, this is how
Mm.
we were designed. This is how we should be eating. But
Mm.
I think we got very disconnected from our bodies, because
Mm.
I mean, a newborn know exactly what they need. They would cry when they
Yes.
are hungry without even knowing what hunger is, and they will stop
Mm.
once they feel full without even knowing what fullness is. But then we
Yes.
get very disconnected from our body, through parents telling us to finish our plate of food when we
Mm.
actually feel full, or we're not able to eat because it's not dinner time yet when we actually feel hungry, or diet culture telling us to eat a certain way. So we need to
Yes.
get back to that mindfulness and that intuitive side.
Mm.
So yeah.
And that was very well said, and I think you clearly explained it. It's a big difference between physical hunger and appetite, and we've lost that touch with our physical bodies. And I absolutely
Mm-hmm.
agree with you, because then it becomes difficult, because then we eat for a myriad of reasons, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
emotional, stress, or whatever it may be. So and you're touching on mindfulness. That means we get to a place where we become aware of what is really going on in our bodies, and we
Mm-hmm.
recognize the signals our body sends us. But in order to do that, you have to actually become quiet, and you have to stop and listen, and
Mm-hmm.
that's also that's also very powerful, with because our bodies, because we tend to have a rushed life. I just look at
Mm-hmm.
my own pace of life. It is so hard to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. It's so hard to slow down and really get to that place where you can stop and sit and listen, because we also have forced eating time schedules. We have lunchtime between this time, and we have dinner between this, because we have to get to that place. We have to do this. So it isn't always so easy, is it, to really get to
Yeah.
that place where you're listening and recognizing your body. So what would be then an alternative, to say, okay, with our fast-paced lives and our schedules that are so full. I mean, our children, we know, have to be there at this time, and then choir practice there, and music and sport, and it's just it's just crazy. So we
Yeah.
on the run. Sometimes we just rush eating. I know that we
Mm-hmm.
have to also listen to our food and eat slower, because we tend
Mm-hmm.
more when we're rushed. So it almost seems like there's a life philosophy that we're touching on here. Of like
Mm-hmm.
this food isn't just food and eating. It's almost like how you live your life.
Definitely.
Um, and it's got to do with slowing down. I think.
Mm.
What do you say there?
No, definitely, yeah. And I wish we could all just like go back in how it was back in the day, where it was
Yes.
very relaxed, and we would sit around a fire and go
Hmm.
and pick berries. And but yeah, unfortunately, we are living in a rushed world.
Hmm.
So you need to meet yourself where you are at now, and the life that you have now, because we don't always have the control. I mean, if you have children that needs to be somewhere, or you have a certain job and you love your job and you know this is where God wants you to be, then that we need to be like, okay, this is how it is, but what can I do? And to start off small, start off with booking out 10 minutes in your day just to go sit and have something to eat. I always tell my clients to have emergency meals available for those days where you are rushed. So having always like some kind of snack in the car, maybe some nuts or like an apple or yogurt or like a shake or something, just as your emergency meal. Because also if we're getting very overwhelmed with life, the last thing we want to think about is what to eat. So then it's easier just to skip a meal. So to have these meals and to know if you need to write it down on your fridge, write it down so that you can just go to the fridge and be like, okay, this is what I can eat when I don't have the capacity to think about what to eat. And then, with the schedules, to go and sit still if you only have lunch from 12 until 12:30, to go sit and just get quiet for a moment and just be like, is my body asking for this food? Eating a bite or two and be like, okay, how does this feel? You don't have to have a complete mindful meal. I mean, nobody has the time for that, but just to be like, okay, how is this tasting? Am I enjoying this? And is my body asking for this, or am I physically feeling full and satisfied? And then to leave it and have your emergency meals next to you, close by, for if the rest of the day gets busy, then you can just grab that. So make work with what you've got, and start from there. Start to slowly, also if you're thinking about mindfulness, it's a practice that you need to practice. Like you need to train your brain to be more mindful. So and you don't just stand up from the couch and go run a marathon. You need to train like slowly, do like 500 meters and then a kilo and then 5 kilos and then 10. So you need to train your brain as well. So to start your day off when you're brushing your teeth, just to be like, how is this tasting? Or then I love it if my clients tell me they love a certain food or they don't like a certain food, because that's a mindful decision to be like, you know what, I really love this food. And that's a mindful decision. You're not just having something because someone else said it's nice, or not having something because someone else said it's nice. You are actually thinking about, okay, what does my body like?
Yes. And,
So
and with regards to portion size, because people talk a lot about that, they say eat out of a small plate. Or again, I think from my perspective here, I would think that maybe people differ. Some people need bigger portions or larger portions than others. How would you know? If you are in that place, is that again the idea of getting to the place where you really can distinguish between appetite and physical hunger, and then listen to your body and realize when your body is telling you that I've now had in sufficient amount. Because people would, it's almost like they have a general rule, because in psychology we would say people develop unhealthy or rigid rules with harsh assumptions. Like they would say, I cannot eat a lot of food because if I do, I will become fat, and if I'm fat, I will be ugly, and if I'm ugly, I will be rejectable or whatever it is. So it's almost like this pattern goes. So then they almost restrict themselves no matter what. So there's no awareness of food and what my body needs. And it's almost like this rule dictates that I can't, I've now overeaten. I've messed up. But sometimes your body might actually say, I need a bit more. What do you think?
Definitely, yeah. I'm not crazy about the rule of eating in a smaller plate, because it's not for everyone. For some people, they feel less intimidated, especially again if you're healing your relationship with food. It feels less intimidating to have a smaller plate in front of you. So it depends from person to person, but not just to eat from a small plate because you're telling yourself you're not allowed to eat a lot of food. Because then you're giving that power away. You're giving that, your body's personal needs away. So yes, the goal is to get to the point where you are able to listen to your body, but that is also a process. It's like,
Mm.
I always say it's like building a relationship with someone. You don't just see someone and then all of a sudden, like, you know everything about that person. It's, you get to know the person, and at the beginning it might be a little bit awkward. You might, they might misunderstand you. You might misunderstand them. But
Yes.
as you spend time and start to listen to
Mm.
them and start to treat them with respect and vice
Mm.
versa, you start building this great relationship. And that's the same with your body. You
Yes.
might misunderstand your body, and that is okay. But to slowly start to just be mindful and be like, I finished my plate of food. Let's give it 10 minutes and let's
Mm.
just notice, like, how am I feeling? Like, do I
Yes.
still have that little bit of a emptiness in my stomach?
Mm-hmm.
Or I just finished the plate of food and I feel very uncomfortable. Then to know,
Mm.
like, next time, okay, let's eat half of the plate, stop, and then, eat the rest afterwards, and just like,
Mm.
just notice. Yeah, because I think we do have that portion distortion. A lot of
Yes.
dietitians will use that in the sense of people overeat and their portions are too big, but I think it can go
Mm.
the other way around as well,
As
where you
well,
think,
yes.
you need to eat this little bit, but it's actually not enough for your body. So,
It isn't.
yeah, that's why I always like to, see not to advise anyone ever to download a meal plan from the internet, because that is
Mm.
not going to be suited for you. Like, go to someone that's able to actually tell you how much should you be eating, just to give you a little bit of perspective on that. And even
Mm.
I always tell my clients as well, I mean, if I give you a plan, use it as a guideline, but also really listen to your body. If you still feel hungry after that meal, have a little bit more. If you don't feel hungry or you don't want to have the snack that's on the plan, then it's okay. You don't have to. But that is just the
Mm.
stepping block to getting to a point where you can listen to your body.
Wow. And some people exercise a lot, or go to the gym, so they would probably need more nutrients. Their body would
Definitely.
expect or ask for more because they're burning
Definitely.
more, isn't it?
Exactly.
Just to
Yeah.
have that awareness, because it seems like there's this guilt with regards to food, the shame and guilt that says, but hey, you've
Mm,
overeaten, you've done something bad. It's almost like you've sinned.
mm,
You've because there's also the fear of gluttony,
mm.
that I will be a glutton, that I will overeat so much, and that then let's bring it into the Christian worldview and the Christian perspective on this. Like our relationship with the Lord and with food, like, because gluttony is one of the sins, the seven deadly
Yeah.
sins, and we're talking about, that's people who tend to overeat. I think it's King Henry VIII that died from overeating. I think he ate like a tremendous amount of food, and he died after that. It's
Yeah.
like history tells that, but if you go and read up on what he actually had for dinner, it sounds like he had like a week's food in one meal.
Oh
But
my
uh,
goodness.
but if you have a look at faith, our relationship with the Lord, you mentioned that our bodies are a temple of the Holy Spirit. Now, if you have
Mm,
to think as a dietitian and as a Christian now, how do you view food then? Because um, when we go for a meal, because there's this guilt regarding food. How do you think God wants us to view our bodies as women and men? And how do we view this? Because being a temple, it's as if people know this, but somehow it gets lost. They've heard of this,
mm,
but somehow it gets lost somewhere in that translation of moving with food. Now suddenly the phobia kicks in, like you said, and all those
yeah.
rules. As a Christian, what would you say there? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes. So I personally feel that if you continue to pursue the perfect body,
Mm.
I don't think you can truly live out your purpose that God has designed you for.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, it steals a lot from you,
Mm.
and that becomes your main focus, because yeah, you're finding your identity in food and how you eat. And I think the enemy knows that, so the enemy
Mm.
is going to, and obviously the enemy's main goal is to drag us away from living our purpose that God has designed for us.
Yes.
So yeah, if we are constantly focusing on changing our body, being on these diets, and our body's trying to jump back and going the other way, and overeating and undereating all the time, that is going to be our main focus. And I mean, I can guarantee, I can promise you, God did not put us here on earth to have the perfect body. He put
Yes.
us here on earth with a body to live out the purpose that He
Ah.
has designed for us.
Mm.
So I think, and we need to daily focus on that. And I know for me as well, coming back to media as well, social media, like I found myself yesterday comparing myself and,
Yes.
comparing myself to other dietitians and being like, oh, they are doing it this way, and, they are
Mm.
living this life. And even like with, people
Mm.
on Facebook, like comparing yourself. And so it's a daily thing. You need to daily focus on, why am I here?
Mm.
To focus on, okay, God did not put me here to have the perfect body.
Yes.
Again, He put me here with a body, and I need to take care of this body so that I can also live out my purpose. Because
Yes.
if we are going to, suffer from gluttony and overeat, and develop these lifestyle diseases, it's also going to be difficult to like fully just live out our purpose and feel the best that we can possibly be. So
Mm.
it's we I feel like we need to focus on that daily and remind ourselves daily from that, and pray daily that God will remind us of that, and that He will make us aware if we are being dragged down with the rest of the world,
Mm. Mm.
and really fight against that, because the enemy is going to challenge us every single day for most of us
Mm.
with that.
And
So
it's powerful that you said, because there's a distinction. Our body does not become the main focus. It is the Lord that becomes
mm,
the main focus, and why He's put us here on earth. So the body is just the means to live out a
mm,
purpose. So we're in Christ, and we're displaying, putting Christ on display, and He uses our bodies. He wants us to live healthily and to be as healthy as possible. I think it's part of his plan. If you look at 3 John 2, where he prays for his friend, he says, that he prays that he would be as healthy in his body as he is spiritually.
mm,
But the body's not the main focus. I recall from a previous discussion with you that you said you would ask somebody, who are you apart from your body, or apart from,
mm,
who are you? So it's
yes,
another shift. So it's a shift on the other areas of who you are, and your focus. And as a Christian, your body's not the focus. So the focus isn't on just on how you eat, and how your body looks. The focus is on Christ
mm,
and who He
mm,
is, and on the Father, and how He loves you. Because I know from eating
mm,
disorders, from a psychological perspective, there's a lot of struggling with approval, with feeling
mm,
good enough. And it's as if the Lord says, I love you the way you are, and I will help you to get to
mm,
the place. But let's focus on me and what I've put you here for, instead of just over focusing on food and how you look. Because people
mm,
develop a distorted perspective of their bodies. And I've got people in my own life, in my own circles, that I know they're either too thin or not, but they do not view themselves accurately. And I think as a Christian, what we're saying is the bigger focus shifts to the Lord and to what He has put you here on earth for. So,
mm,
and I mean, saying, it's just so amazing, as I'm reflecting on what you've said. Um,
yes,
we are more just than just our bodies.
yes, yeah. And I think that's a difficult thing, because you're giving up that control, and you're really shifting your focus. And I think for some people that it's very scary to give up that control.
It is.
Um, and yeah, it's really, yeah, it's really, for some people, I think it would be a big challenge to really do that. Um, yeah, so I think it's a daily thing of just really every day surrendering, and really meditating on who you are and who God has designed you to be, and really focusing on Christ. And yeah, I don't think it's easy, but it's completely, I mean, that is who God designed us to be. So yeah,
Mm.
just to be reminded of that every day.
And you've said it powerfully, to give up the control, and I think it's the bottom of that is also trust. It's
Mm,
learning to trust that the Lord accepts you, even though your body isn't perfect, even though you might be struggling with some eating habits, that you're still loved and you're still accepted, and He has a purpose for you, and He will live out
mm,
His purpose in your life, even though your body's not where you want it to be, or it might
mm-hmm.
not be as healthy as you want it to be, but you can always start from there. But the Lord's
Yes.
love remains the same, doesn't it? It's unconditional. And I think people with
Yeah.
eating dilemmas, and women with eating issues, and even and all people, but they have to know that there's an acceptance.
Mm,
And we, we find with men and eating disorders that they tend to go for they usually, we find them in the binge eating disorder category. They overeat,
mm-hmm.
don't care about how they look or whether they're overweight. So men don't always tend to, it's a generalization, but they don't always tend to be so over focused
Mm,
on that. But even if you're there, to know that yes, there is a responsibility to look
mm-hmm.
after the body, but there's also an acceptance from the Lord, and help
Yes.
day by day, as you.
Mm,
And that leads me, I think, to the last question, almost to end off, and that it sounds like that would be the to say. So, in summary, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who may be struggling with their whole relationship with food? What would be your advice? Where do they start?
I think just to firstly recognize that it doesn't matter what your problem is, doesn't matter how small you think your problem is. Again, because it's so normalized to focus on your diet and your body, and diets that is like everybody is feels like a expert on eating and sharing that on social
Mm,
media.
mm,
So because it's so normalized, I think a lot of people don't think that they have a problem.
mm,
But if you are experiencing any stress, anxiety, self-worth issues, really struggling with your
mm,
diet, really struggling with just loving your body and giving it your body what it needs, it doesn't matter how small you think it is. if
mm,
if there's a little bit of a problem, then it's okay to get the help that you need. Then you
mm,
deserve to get the help that you need, and you deserve to be freed from that.
mm,
So I think just to realize, like, okay, I do have a problem, maybe I should start taking this serious, and to
mm,
realize that there is so much more for you out there, and your life can be so much more freeing, if you really just, yeah, let go and really get the help that you need.
mm,
um, and then, like I said, also just to be aware of your triggers.
mhm,
Unfortunately, we can't eliminate all triggers out of our life. Like I said, it's everywhere. But if you are following someone on social media that is not helpful, that's not helping
mm,
you towards your journey, doesn't matter who it is,
mm,
unfollow them. I
mm,
think there's, yeah, a lot of influencers that you think is helping you, but it's actually making you feel worse about yourself. And I don't
mm,
think that is what wants us to feel and to experience. So
mm,
just to eliminate the triggers, that you can, to redefine your view on beauty, and what,
mm,
because, yeah, like I said, beauty changed over the past few decades. So to really get back to, okay, my body is beautiful, God gave me this body to live out a purpose, and yeah, I want to take care of it, even if it doesn't look like A, B, and C.
mm,
um, and yeah, just to really focus on that, um, to start change your view around eating and dieting, and to
mm,
not see eating as something that has the power to change your body, but to see eating as something that has the power to help your body and to benefit your body. And that is
yes.
why you're eating fruits and vegetables and lean proteins and fats. It's
Mm,
to help your body. It's not to harm your body.
yes.
um, and to start small, to meet yourself where you are at now, to really go sit and be honest with yourself in a non-judgmental way,
Mm,
and just to go be like, okay, where am I now? What is working? What do I know is really helping me now, and what is not helping me, and how can I change that?
mm,
Is it, that you're not drinking any water, to start and drink water. Water is extremely important for the body. It's important for our mental health as well. There we go.
hello?
um, just a slight dehydration can cause our mental health, like a slight irritation, headache, struggling to focus. So if you're drinking no water, start to drink 1 or 2 glasses. If you're
Yes.
eating no vegetables at the moment, start to include a little bit of vegetables and start adding it to your mince, or your adding a salad to your dinner. Start snacking on a fruit. So just to slowly make these changes, and to see it as, okay, this is helping my body. I'm not doing this because I'm hating my body. I'm doing this because I'm loving my body.
Mm.
So yeah,
Mm.
to start small.
To start small and start somewhere, and not be judgmental to yourself and have all kinds of
Mm,
labels on yourself. I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm a binger, I'm a this and a that. But to start there and to start to slowly make changes and also get help. And you said
yes.
something that I also want to reflect on, and that is the shift of what is beauty really. So to
Mm,
almost give yourself permission to be who you are and how God created you to be, your body.
yes.
That your body looks when you're that your body doesn't have to look like somebody else's body. That
Mm,
be pleased and satisfied with your body, and then also to bring in faith there to say the Lord shifts your
mm,
focus to say, look after your body. It's good. The Apostle Paul also says exercise has value, and it has temporal
mm,
value, but our spiritual lives and our inner beauty has eternal value.
mm,
So to say
yes.
it's good to look after your body, it complements your eternal
Mm,
inner beauty. So to work on that, on the fruit of the Spirit, to say, Lord, work through me there,
mm,
and
yes.
to shift your focus, because it becomes an idol almost, in a sense, that we're so
Yes.
focused on that. We want a balanced. What I'm hearing from you is live that balanced life, eat healthy, see food as your friend. In a sense, it's helping you to get nutrients
Yes.
you need to serve the Lord. Focus on serving the Lord, living out your purpose, displaying Christ, being that, living with the fruits of the Spirit, letting the Holy Spirit live through you,
Mm,
and enjoying food on along the way. And if you've messed up, just recalibrate and say, okay, I'm going to do that next time. I'm summarizing
yes.
what I'm hearing you saying. So it's I
Exactly.
think it sounds so. It for me, it gives me a sense of peace in listening
Mm,
what you're saying there, and now, in balancing it. Um, so it's wonderful. Rhodene, it's been such a pleasure talking to you, and thanks a lot for sharing your wisdom and your insights. It was really good, and I do hope that people will also get in touch with you. If you want to look in the description of the video, you can find Rhodene's information there as well. So you're welcome to contact her. So Rhodene, thank you very much for sharing with us today and spending time. And I look forward to talking with you again in the future.
oh, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, also excited for to talking to you in the future as well.
Wonderful. Great stuff. So thanks a lot again, viewers, for watching. And please do go and follow us on Facebook and the YouTube channel. As you know, Matters of the Soul. We're on Instagram and TikTok as well. And go and have a look at our website, mattersofthesoul.org, sakevanisiel.org, which is an Afrikaans ook. So you can go and have a look at that. And there you will find lots and lots of information on various topics. So we're dealing with eating and eating disorders and all kinds of eating problems, but we've dealt with trauma and depression and children and marriage, communication, even sex. We've had a lot of discussions on various topics. So please go and have a look at that, and it's all for free. And you can have a look. It's part of our nonprofit. If you want to support our nonprofit, we will also be giving you a link in the description to support the work that we're doing. God bless you. And Rhodene, thanks again. And we'll speak to you again. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.